Earlier in the show, we were talking about impacts of information from the government during the shutdown. Kim, are you seeing any of those impacts, and does it impact the world markets too?
Well, I think what we're seeing right now with lack of information is it's a good time of the year for that to happen. There's just not much going on in the wheat market. You know, Australia and Argentina just finished their harvest, so we've got some news from the market analyst on that. The WASDE didn't come out, but again, you had the market surveys by independent firms that gave us some information. So yeah, our information is limited, but I think it's enough to see what's going on in the market.
From what you're hearing, is there any big shakeups in the market right now? What's happening?
Well, there's really nothing going on, and a sign of that is if you look at, say, the price of wheat in Burlington, Oklahoma, since January the 3rd, it's been from $4.77 to $4.88, 11-cent move in wheat prices since January 3rd. That just tells you that there's just not much happening right now.
As an economist, you probably like that consistency, but as a wheat grower, they need that consistency to kind of rise in price. What's it going to take to get off that bubble?
So what we need to do is get some information or some export demand. If we can get some export demand, then we'll break out of this sideways price pattern. And in that increase in demand, I think our export demand is going to have to come from lack of supply of wheat in the Black Sea regions, Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, running out of export wheat so that the demand can come into the United States.
So what are you hearing from that part of the world, the Black Sea region?
Well, there's quite a few reports that Ukraine, their ministry this last week put out a request from their exporters to see how much they're planning on exporting, that they say that they're pretty much reaching their limit. The same with Russia. Look at the supply of wheat held by private owners is down 36% as compared to last year. So the wheat is being limited in that area, and they should run out, big question mark, run out of wheat to export, say about March.
So all of that's taking place in the northern hemisphere where a lot of the wheat is in the bins, but in the southern hemisphere, they're putting the wheat in the bins, wrapping up the crops. How did the crops in Argentina and Australia shake out?
Well, they came in as expected. You look at Australia, it came in about 625 million bushels compared to 783 last year, and a 5-year average of 914 million bushels. So Australia's crop short and probably not as in good a quality as it has been in the past. Argentina, on the other hand, a 700 million bushel crop, 680 last year, average of 534. So Argentina will probably make some of that lower amounts of wheat out of Australia.
So we move back to the northern hemisphere. You were talking about Ukraine and Russian wheat. If their numbers on the wheat start to deplete, will there be demand for U.S. wheat? And if so, how long before we see that?
Well, it appears, or you'd think that there'd be demand for U.S. wheat when they run out of wheat, the hard red winter wheat in the Black Sea area. However, you've got India's harvest starting in March. You've got Pakistan's harvest starting in March. Both of those are looking relatively well. There's some speculation that they will come in and export wheat. Russian Ukraine wheat runs out in March. Ours should pick up, but then you've got India and Pakistan. There's a possibility that our export demand may not really pick up until we get very close to harvest, and then we see some price increases.
So you mentioned Pakistan and India possibly being exporters later in the year. Who's buying the wheat, and why are they buying those countries' wheat versus the U.S. wheat?
Well, you can look at one reason is transportation advantage. The largest market is Egypt, Algeria, North African countries. Right there is the largest wheat market. Then you can go over to Indonesia, you can go over to Eastern Asia, the Black Sea area, and include India and Pakistan in that area, have a transportation advantage over Australia, over Argentina, over the U.S. You get over into the Pacific areas there, the Philippines, Japan. We have a little bit of transportation advantage, but the major wheat imports are in countries nearer to Russia and Ukraine than they are to the U.S.
Okay, thank you much, Kim Anderson, grain marketing specialist here at Oklahoma State University.